Good evening, good evening, good evening. You're locked into another episode of the Red Sea podcast. And this evening, we've got an absolute banger for you. It is the FAB 4 Wolves versus Liverpool preview. And we are joined by two very, very, very special guests. We're going to be talking everything Wolves and Liverpool. Jota returning back to Molineux. Traore potentially heading over to Liverpool in the January transfer window. Reds, what do we think about that? I can already see the comments building. I can already see the anticipation. But without further ado, it is time to roll that intro.
Tell the world we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. The Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are unsupported, and we come from Liverpool.
Guys, we're going to get straight into the guest that we've got here today. And as I said, without further ado, let's introduce them. So I've got my main woman, Courtney B, here. Welcome back, Courtney. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good. Honestly, I'm just buzzing after the midweek game, to be honest with you. I feel I'm still smiling from it.
I think we're all buzzing from the midweek game. And we've got a couple of special guys here as well. We've got Steve returning back to the Red Sea podcast after his exploits on Red Men TV. We caught that one, mate. That was an absolute banger, mate. Well done for that.
Thank you very much, mate. Always good to share some airtime with you guys. First time with Courtney, but been on with yourself and Roy before. So, yeah, absolutely looking forward to this. There's loads to talk about, isn't there?
There is plenty to talk about. And Roy, welcome back, my man. It's good to have you back on. Someone who's making some sensational content over at Top of the Cop and also has got a new page which is just launched as well. So, guys, we're going to plug that right at the end of the show. So make sure you're getting locked into that. Roy, tell the people what you got cracking at the moment, mate.
Yeah, I didn't even expect you to notice that little thing. I know you'd followed it, but yeah, I've just started because I like talking about football. Sometimes, the Liverpool content there's not enough to talk, to go around and see the week. I also just started a Premier League one, England, at the EPL digest. So hopefully that'll go well. But yeah, great to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back, pal. Guys, we'll just flick to a couple of the comments. We've got a couple of regulars in there as well. Big shout out to you, Mr. Ryan Mental. Thank you for joining us back here again as well. Ultra Freestyle Swordsman, big up to you, bro. Thank you for having you back in here also. Connor Cody and your mistake to help Liverpool win. I'm here for it. I am here for it. And I'm sure Ryan Mental's here for it as well. Agent Connor Cody. Yeah, 100%, 110%. But guys, you've got obviously some of the regulars in here and our very own SS here as well. Coming through as his Christian name because his phone is incapacitated at the moment. I'm not sure if he threw it in a fit of rage. Or whether it's actually broken, but I'm sure we'll learn more soon. SS can't be here with us today simply because he's had dental surgery and they've butchered his mouth. So I wish you all the best, mate. We'll get you back on really, really soon. It's the place at the same about you, probably more peaceful. But yeah. Right, so let's get into the tasty content. And as we always do on the Fab 4 show, we talk about the recent head-to-head. And Roy, hit us with the recent head-to-heads between Liverpool and Wolves.
Well, yeah, it's simple stats, really. We've won the last 5, home and away, in the Premier League. Last year, we won 4-0 home and we won 1-0 away. And our rich vein of form at the moment, I can't see that being any different, if I'm being honest, unless Liverpool don't turn up to the races, which I'm sure are Brentford performances and even Champions League exploits for as well as we've done to win them all. None of them, some of them have not been plain sailing. So if we can learn from those mistakes, learn from the West Ham game, going obviously down to the Molineux, sure we can pick up the 3 points we need.
Definitely, and you're right. Some of those results in there have been indifferent from what we've seen in terms of Liverpool. Top scorers in the Premier League were absolutely flying. Probably the most potent attack at the moment in European football. There was those of us that were writing off Mane those of us that were potentially writing off Firmino after the season they had last year, Steve shaking his head. I know someone that was.
There's a few.
There was a few. Now, look, let's be very honest. It's very, very hard to judge these players by anything but their own lofty standards. These individuals have been impeccable, sensational for the last 3, rolling on 4 years now. They've been at the top of their game. So in my head, they're entitled to having one bad season out of 4. That's not a bad set of averages. It has been absolutely fantastic football from these guys. So I always say judge them by their own lofty standards. But speaking about strikers, and we're going to get tucked straight into the opposition, Wolves have always, or most recently, been branded as what you would call a one-man team. We saw that they suffered with the loss of Jimenez when he went down with that head injury. We all saw the pictures live on TV. It weren't good. The comeback for him has been really difficult, especially as a player which heads the ball. He's a header of the ball. So when you have an injury like that, and you're obviously seeing him playing the protective headwear and the protective band, is very, very difficult. Conor Cody done an interview very recently where he said his first few months back in training, he was actually wearing like a crash helmet just to protect the skull. And they all kind of bantered him, and it was all very, very funny. But you also got the serious nature of what was actually going on. This guy could have died on the football pitch. It's no laugh and joke. So, Courtney, I'm going to come straight to you as well. Like, do you think that Wolves are a one-man team? Are they blunt in attack when Jimenez isn't up top?
Probably so, in terms of attacking side of things. I feel like they have got like Neves. I feel like he's quite crucial to them as well in terms of how they play. But Jimenez, you would say, he's the main man, because Traore, yeah, he's strong, he's quick, but his finishing is shocking. Like, his finishing is shit. So I just think, in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net, it's got to be Jimenez.
Okay. Look, I agree with you. I mean, on some of that, but we'll get onto that a little bit later in the show. But no, Jimenez is a fantastic finisher. Like I said, he was a header of the ball. And Steve, I'm going to come to you. We're not seeing, obviously, as many headed goals from him as we saw in the previous seasons in the Premier League. Do you reckon that's medical advice, or is that confidence? Because that's a nasty injury. I mean, Ryan Mental says it in here. Watch the BBC doc, proper harrowing. It's terrible. And, you know, some players say that they heard it go. They heard that on the football pitch. So he must have been hit pretty hard. We've seen players suffer similar injuries in Ryan Mason, which ended his career at such a young age. Now coaching at Tottenham in the academy, but that ended his career. So Jimenez is very lucky to be back on a football pitch, playing football at the highest level in the Premier League.
Who's that to, sorry?
Sorry, it's you, Steve.
Yeah, first of all, it's really good to see him back, because it was a really, really bad injury, and you never like to see that, and it was a significantly bad skull fracture. It will be playing on his mind 100%. He'll tell you it isn't, but it will. Just as Virgil doesn't commit to going to ground so much these days, because that still plays on his mind. He might be medically fit to play, but the psychology of overcoming those injuries and reconciling in your own mind that it's good to carry on doing what you were doing will take some time. It might be a year before he feels he can go. And I actually saw him take that headband off during the game and play without it. So that shows us something, that he's coming to terms with what he's had and how he deals with it. They've changed the way they play under the new manager. Nuno was defensively minded, first of all, which is why they often used to come out in the second half with a deficit to chase, and there'd be a different team in the second half under Nuno. Under the new guy, they're a bit more rounded, and I don't think they put so many balls aerially into the box. And why would you? Courtney's already mentioned Neves is a bit of a baller. And they've got Daniel Prudence, and they've got other players, Neto, who are all extremely comfortable with the ball on the floor. Little light guys in the Philip Coutinho style that can beat you quite comfortably. And that's the way they're playing. They're a different proposition under the new manager. So I don't think it's a medical ploy. I think it's a tactical ploy that they're not seeing so many balls into the box.
Yeah, I think you're right. Under the new manager, they've become more progressive in terms of playing through the lines and actually trying to break opponents down. Nino, you're right, was very defensive, and we saw a similar style he took to Spurs, and ultimately culminated in him losing his job because they were not playing expansive enough football. Whether they had the tools to do it or not, They just were not doing it. And that is Nino's kind of philosophy. Let's be secure before we look to build and go forward, which is very, very difficult when you're playing in the Premier League. Not many teams, especially at the caliber and level of Wolves, and with respect to Wolves, they're not a Chelsea, they're not a Liverpool, they're not a Manchester City, they're not even a Manchester United or an Arsenal style team. They're a team which is stabilised in the Premier League, and they're looking to be mid-table or push for places in terms of Europe. So that style, maybe being secure at the back, aided them, but they need to evolve. And we've seen them do that under the new manager. Roy, I'll come to you. Does this fixture worry you in terms of the threat that Wolves could potentially carry? We've spoken about how they've changed the way they play. Is that a concern of yours?
It wasn't until a few weeks ago, I must admit. Bruno Lage has obviously had to implement his own philosophies at the club, and it's took a while for them to get used to it. And it's in recent weeks they've been, you can see that they've been a threat. Now, as I said earlier, it's one of those situations where if Liverpool turn up and play, I'm not worried. But if we get similar things happening in the game, similar to what happened at Brentford, for instance, where they do run the lines midfield and causes issues, I can see I can 10% of me can see what happened at Brentford happening again. And the thing is, at the Molineux, if they're up for it, they've got Adama Traore, even though I know we'll talk more about him later, but if they've got him just running in straight lines like the Roadrunner and he gets through, then he might cause problems if he's got end product, which we haven't seen much of this season. Touch wood, before he goes and slots a winner in. But no, I wasn't concerned up until I started to see these patterns of play working out for them. And Jimenez, I'm pretty sure he scored a header recently as well. And I don't know if he's wearing that head guard for mentally, worrying about it, or the fact he's just been advised to. So I wouldn't be able to tell you if I think he's struggling in the sense of coming to terms with that, or if it's playing on his mind, so to speak. But yeah, a few weeks ago, I'd have thought we'd steamrolled this. I still think we will if we turn up, but yeah, there's always a bit of a worry whether he's exactly, they got Prudence, they got Traore, they got Neves, and they've got Jimenez, hitting form again. So yeah, there's that slight concern.
Yeah, I agree with you, and you're right. The last couple of results that they've had have been fruitful. Ultra Freestyle Swordsman hits the nail on the head. Wolves have, for the first time, have kept three clean sheets in a row. They could potentially look to frustrate us and then catch us on a counter attack because they do have pace up top. Adama Traore is a player with lightning pace. He's unbelievably quick, and he's going to be very difficult to catch. Virgil is no slouch. Konate, who I personally think will play, but we'll get onto lineups later on down the line, is no slouch. Even Matip is no slouch, but you're always worried if he opens up that bit of pace he does have, that he's going to tweak a hamstring or an abductor or something, or groin, which we associate with Matip. And also Neves in the midfield, potentially back tomorrow. He likes to dictate pace. He's playing some very, very good football. But just on the Adama Traore thing, publications are claiming Traore to Liverpool is all but done and the move will go through in January. I've seen Steve's face change, but I'm not going to come to you yet. Courtney, talk to me about this one. I've been very vocal about my thoughts on the prospect of Adama Traore coming to Liverpool Football Club. It's my belief that if the deal was to be done and Adama Traore would come to Liverpool Football Club for what is being mooted as a nominal fee of £20 million, that Klopp could potentially make this transfer or this a success of this. He has all the tools to be a half decent player. I'm not saying he's going to come straight into that lineup and replace any of that front three or even four in Jota, but I believe he would be an upgrade on what we already have in the striking department or wing department. Courtney, talk to me. Do you see this happening?
I don't know. I don't know if I can see it happening. I know we looked at him before, but the price they were asking for was ridiculous. Was it like 80 million or something like that they wanted?
Yeah, it was silly. It was silly. It was
stupid. I do think he's quick, he's so rapid, he's strong, but his finishing isn't there. But saying that, I think if we go for, I think it's a lot of bollocks to be honest with you. But if we do go for him, and these rumours are true, then I have complete faith in Klopp, because if he goes for a player, there's a reason that he's gone for them, and the way that he must think that they're going to slot into the team, how he thinks they're going to add to the team. So I would have faith in the fact that he can get the best out of him, and I think he wouldn't sign him if he didn't think that he could. So for me, I just think it's a case of that his finishing, like his decision making as well. Like I think when they played against Burnley, he could have slotted it in, and instead he went and took the shot. Like he's not aware of his surroundings. He's very narrow-minded, and I just think I don't know if he would slot into the Liverpool team very well. But then again, if Klopp thinks he does, like Klopp knows more than me, so I'll have faith in him. But personally, I wouldn't want him. I feel like we could. 20 million's not bad, but
you made some great points there, and I think the key thing in that is Jurgen Klopp. Better coaches will improve a player.
Yeah.
Adama Traore is still quite young. For me personally, I think he needs to drop some of that weight. And I think if he was to come to Liverpool Football Club, he would be told he needs to drop some of that weight. He's carrying an awful lot of muscle mass around on that football pitch. There's all these myths that he doesn't push weights and he's naturally like that. That's bollocks. You know, if you don't push any weight, you get this physique. You get a Thiago's father physique. You don't get a Adama Traore physique.
That's not part of like who he is though as like a player. He's known for being big, like fucking massive, just push him off ball.
Yeah, I agree. That is part of his game, but I still think that you can have that attributes and be trim. You look at someone like Sadio Mane, very, very difficult to beat, very difficult to get off the ball. Mohamed Salah, very difficult to beat, hard to get off the ball. Firmino, also the same. They don't look like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, you're not allowed in the gym.
No, I just feel he needs to drop a lot of that muscle mass, and I also feel that contributes to his injuries. He has muscle injuries because he's so highly strung as an athlete. Drop a bit of that, have the right diet. I think we're into something here. I know Steve is itching to get tucked into this subject, so I'm going to give you the floor.
3 points. First one: 153 appearances in the Premier League. 7 goals and 14 assists. That's a GA in every 5 games. That's not good enough for an attacking player. Second point is, I wouldn't waste 20 million quid on him because you spend another £1 million on baby oil so that other defenders couldn't get hold of his arms. And the final piece of my piece here is that why buy a player that's going to contribute to teams playing a low block? We've got to stop teams from playing a low block. So if you add an Exocet missile to your front line, which is clearly is, but I've never seen anybody as quick as that ever. And that only Usain Bolt's faster than him, I think. Why would you have a player that's, like Courtney says, his decision making doesn't have a football brain. He has an athlete's physique. He has ridiculous speed. And then once in every 5 games, he gets something right in terms of a cross for Jimenez. I get the Klopp factor, right? But at 24, 25, what Klopp does is he improves you by putting you in a system. He doesn't improve you as a footballer because you are what you are at that age. So the system would improve Adama Traore, not as a footballer because he is what he is at 25 or however old he is. If you're going to spend money in January on a wide man, you've got to go for Rafinha all day long. Leeds are staring at the trapdoor at the moment. Things are not going well for Leeds. This is the time to put the money on the table.
Do you know what? I love you, Steve, because I am in agreement with the Rafinha thing. The only kind of caveat I'll put into that, and Roy, I'm going to come to you on this as well, right? Is that you're right. Leeds are struggling. They're having kind of that second season syndrome, aren't they? And they were very open. I watched an interview, a presser with, I think it's their financial man or chair, whoever it is. And they spoke about this second season syndrome, that they're prepared for it. They knew it would happen. They've got total faith in the manager. All of this, all the noises coming out of a team that think, damn, we're doomed. It's now time to batten the hatches. So you're right. The right amount of money thrown on that table could potentially lure him over. My only thing is I don't think we would get him in January, especially based on where Leeds are at the moment in terms of their fight. He's contributing and assisting. He's scoring. He's doing everything for that Leeds team. He's their main man. You've seen Calvin Phillips fall off a little bit as well in terms of his performances. There's talk of a rift between him and Bielsa. So at the moment, the shining light in that team is Rafinha. Without him, they definitely get relegated. So if you're to go for him, the fee would be astronomical. There was talk of like 60, 70 million pound when we were linked in the summer. I reckon that number is still going to be the same. But hey, it could be a shrewd investment, but potentially for the summer. Roy, Adama Traore. The other two have said it's a big fat no. Tell me that you're in the yes camp.
Absolutely not. He's not a Liverpool player in the slightest. He's not. I've been thinking about this all week when I've seen the rumours. I was just like, if you think about it, when Liverpool play, 9 times out of 10, there's a low block against us. He needs to be in a team that are basically, counter-attacking football. We're not. Even if he gets that ball in the final third and he's got 8 men in front of him, if you give the ball to Salah, he finds a way to get it to Jota, Henderson, Thiago, Robertson. It just switches from right to left in about 5 seconds. Adama Traore would be like a deer in the headlights. He wouldn't know what the fuck to do. I'm telling you now, he's not a Liverpool football player. He just runs in straight lines with no end product. But as Courtney said before, yeah, he rattled the crossbar the other day. He could have slid Jimenez in for a tap in, and the lad's had his head down, ran straight. He's Jordan Ibe with muscles. I'm telling you now, he does not fit. He does not fit.
God.
He does not fit the Liverpool philosophy whatsoever. Rafinha, on the other hand, does. He's an absolute carbon copy of Salah. But my only issue is he will not get game time because of Salah. Now, I slated Man United in the summer whenever I was on a podcast or tweeting saying Sancho was such a waste of money. They didn't need another wide man. They had Greenwood. They had Rashford. I think they've got like 6 or 7 wingers on the books. They needed a centre mid. And when I look at the Liverpool team, the only way I can see us improving it is we go out and sign a world-class player. And the positions that I think we need to strengthen in is a top number 9. Then we can play Firmino in a deeper role, maybe use it in the 4-2-3-1, which you're keen on, Jay, and also a centre mid to replace Wijnaldum just for that cover, because as we've seen so far, apart from Henderson was as well, to be fair, but apart from Henderson, Fabinho, the rest are on in and out of the treatment room. So even though I like Rafinha, I don't see why we waste 60, 70, 80 million on him when we've got Mo Salah there. And when Mo Salah's not there, we've got 3 others when they come in, especially then if we were to sign a striker. I wouldn't sign either of them, is what I'm trying to get at. But Traore, God, no. God, mate. I'll be fuming if we sign him, to be honest.
So it seems like the panel is pretty much unanimous in their vote that Adama Traore is not for Liverpool. Guys, obviously, he faces up against Liverpool if he starts on Saturday. Is this shop window time for him? Because if you're linked with a team like Liverpool, you show up, right? You're going to show up and show out. You're going to do everything possible to get the attention of that manager. How would we, and Courtney, like this one's for you. How would you feel, right? How would you feel after coming on here tonight, slating him, and then tomorrow he bags an absolute worldie and he's running past going like this? Like, could you imagine the seeds?
It's a fucking fluke. That's what I'd be saying. I'd be like, he's just lucky. Like, he didn't mean to hit it like that. I would have no faith in it whatsoever. I would not think he won't be consistent with it. He's gonna want to impress 100%. Who wouldn't want to play for Liverpool? If you're playing in the Prem, who would you would always want to play for Liverpool, unless you're obviously a United player or something like that. But I just can't see that happening. I feel like he's just gone like that. He was at one point he was highly rated, like he was doing bits, and he's just gone like that. And I think their average goals per game is less than 1 goal per game. What are they doing?
I can see them doing something. I can see him looking good against Liverpool because we play so high. So he'll be able to hit those channels. But for Liverpool, teams don't play like that against us. Look, the only team that kind of I felt that we didn't have an answer for was West Ham. Look how they played against us. If teams want to beat us, that's how you play football. Traore can't play in that type of team. He needs to play against that team.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I've got a question for you, Jay. I've got a question for you before we close on the diamond, right? So Liverpool Football Club signings is all done by player profiling. It's all done by analyticals. The famous story that Klopp wanted Julian Brandt and Michael Edwards told him to sign Mo Salah, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Where does Adama Traore and what he does fit into Liverpool profiling? If you're looking to buy a player that, when they're not there, will give you a similar capacity and a similar output to Salah and Mane, where does Adama fit into that player profiling? Because I can't see it.
For me personally, if I was to go out and look at an Adama Traore or look to sign Adama Traore, I think the fee is what I would refer to as a risk-free transfer. If you bring him in, yeah, and I also believe that it's very, very difficult to attract a player when they know that they're fifth choice. You're walking into that team knowing you are fifth choice, simply because you've got Mane, who's a shoo-in. He's a shoo-in. Yeah, you've got Firmino, when fit, alternates with Jota. But I think even now, and shout out to you, SS, you made a very, very valid point on the pod last week. Can Firmino even get back into that team now? Because Jota is more than stepped up. For me, he is the surprise package of the Premier League. Yeah, he is the surprise package. We never thought that when we put 5 million down and we're spreading the rest on a bit of Chucky. I'm sure Steve will know what I'm saying when we say Chucky. We're spreading a bit on a bit of Chucky for the next 4 years, that we were getting what we've got. He is an unbelievable player. Has all the tools to be a top player. And then you've got Salah. Salah speaks for himself. He is one of, if not the best player in world football in the here and now. So that front three is very, very difficult to break, / front four. So we need to go and buy either a young player which wants to bide his time, yeah, and build up. Maybe a player come through from the academy. There's a couple coming through there which are in the offering. Or we need to go and buy a player which knows where they're at in their progression, knows where they're at in their game, and the pull is the football club and the manager. And they're happy to say, do you know what? I'll play a handful of games against whoever in the cup, and I'll come in, I'll be a bit part player. I know the players are going to the African Cup of Nations. I'll come and I'll contribute in that respect. You may say we already have that with Origi, but I just feel Origi's gone stale. I just feel he's gone stale. And that's not a slur on Origi, because he scored some important goals for us. He's contributed the Champions League run, the Champions League final, the goal against Everton. There's been some real serious moments and memorable moments in the Liverpool shirt. But I feel in order for the lad's career, in order for him to hit the heights that we know he can hit, because he's a decent footballer, it's now time for him to move on. But it's who we replace him with. And if that's Traore, so be it. If it's Rafinha, I think it poses more problems, because he's going to want to play. He's going to want to play some serious ball. But we've seen Liverpool start to rotate, which brings us nicely into the next segment of the show. So, Jota back in his old stumping ground. Conor Cody playing up against his old team, player which he progressed through the academy. And this has got to be the epic battle, because Jota starts for sure. Cody starts at the heart of that back three or back two, however they're playing at the moment. So, how do we anticipate? And Steve, I'll come to you. How do we anticipate, Steve, this playing out? Because, like, with respect to Conor Cody, when he left the club as a central midfielder, we all thought, yeah, he needs to go and play football. He's not Liverpool caliber. He's going to play. He's going to go to Sheffield United, and he's going to kind of wilt away. We'll never really hear of him again. He'll just be a Championship player. He's been converted into a centre back, and similar players, i.e., Jamie Carragher, have made similar moves and been successful. He's actually playing some decent football. Broken into the England squad as well. Got a cap from playing at centre back. Is he going to be able to handle Diogo Jota, a player which he knows well from his time at Wolves?
No, and it's not just coping with Diogo Jota, it's coping with Mane coming on the inside. It's coping with Robbo going around the back. They'll probably play a 3-5-2 with Semedo on the right-hand side, and I'll forget the name of the left back, but they'll play advanced, because Semedo wanted to be the new Dani Alves at Barcelona, and it didn't work out. He finds himself at Wolves. Cody's a ball winner in terms of 50-50 challenges. Jota's going to take him to somewhere where he's not used to going to. Jota doesn't want to do that. It's not his game. He is much more direct than Firmino, makes much more intelligent runs, hence the reason he scores more goals. I think it's a mismatch. I think Cody versus Jota is a total mismatch. Jota's in ridiculous form. That touch to play the ball behind his standing leg, through his legs to leave Alan for dead, is ridiculous. And then the finish. And then the finish was absolutely insane. So at the end of the day, I think it's a mismatch, and I think Liverpool will win quite well, and I don't think the front three will have any problems at all with Conor Cody, who in his own right, and taking nothing away from him, and you're quite right, broken into the England squad, and rightly so. But he wants to play up against more static centre forwards who are slightly more target men. If you pull him around a bit, one thing he does lack is genuine pace. So Jota's not slow, and the timing of Jota's runs gets him into space so much earlier on than many other centre forwards. And then you're talking about making a recovery tackle, and that's not Conor Cody's forte. So I think he's in for a tough game against Jota. But what I would say, just to close, is it's unlikely to be Jota up against Conor Cody, because Conor Cody will play in the middle. Jota will go against the right-sided centre-back in the same way, because that's the position Alan was in when he nutsed him basically and scored the goal. So I'm not sure it's a direct head-to-head there. So I think Jota will cause them all kinds of problems. The front three's movement will cause them all kinds of problems. I don't think Cody's been given the task of dealing with Jota.
You make some really good points in there, and one point I want to touch on, because I'm going to come to you, Roy. That link up play is phenomenal. Yeah. It's almost like telepathy. It's telepathy. You know, that when Mane makes that kind of inside run, Jota pulls wide to create the space. Or if Jota comes deep, and to track the ball, Mane will go long and short. It's fantastic ball play, and Mo Salah is just unpredictable, scintillating, all in his own right. That man does what he wants. He's got the rule of the football pitch ultimately, because he's always going to create some magic. He runs absolute riot. So Steve, you're right. The front three is in such a rich vein of form that Wolves are going to have some serious problems on Saturday. But I do believe that the lure of going into battle with a former teammate, the attractiveness of trying to have that kind of, do you know what I mean? That bit of a tussle, is Conor Cody going to be able to resist that? And I think that's going to play into Jota's hands. Roy, what do you think?
I think if Conor Cody sees it as a tussle, I think he'll get sent off, because I don't, as Steve said, I don't think he's fast enough to cope with that. I think if he gets put on the back foot and tries to go up close with Jota, he's going to get a yellow card here. He might do it as a last man type of thing. But you said before about the front three, it's the front six now. And when I mean that, and we play two, you'll think 3 and 3, but you know what? If you know anything about football, you know it's the two triangles either side of the pitch. So your Henderson, your Trent, and your Salah. You don't know which one of them is going to go down. So Salah gets the ball, Henderson's usually inside. This season, he starts to overlap, going right. Trent starts to come inside. Trent has started to play more of like the right side of centre mid. When Klopp was asked a few months ago, are you going to put Trent right centre mid eventually? He was like, no, why would I put the best right back in the world centre mid? His game's evolved. So you never know where Henderson was unbelievable in the derby.
Unplayable.
The man was unplayable. He found himself down that byline so many times. Everton's defence did not know to cope with him. And it's exactly the same on the left side. Robbo, Mane, Thiago. Now Thiago's getting a few games. You don't know if Robbo's going to cut inside, like for the... was the first goal against
Southampton.
But he just put it back. That run from Robbo was just unbelievable. You don't know where
the curve on it. It was the curve and delay on the run.
You do not know where it's so hard to defend. I'm watching it thinking, oh fucking hell, how are they doing that? You know what I mean? So it's not a front three, it's a front six. And one thing I had an issue with last year was the fact that we had for me, Man City won it because their midfielders like De Bruyne, Silva, they were chipping in with assists and goals. Ours weren't. This season, Henderson's picked up 3 goals, 4 assists. Thiago's got 2 goals. He's only got 1 assist, but he's more creative. And we're starting to see more from the midfield. And Robertson, I think he's had 2 assists in his last 2. So I think he's had 4 assists in 2 games. I think so. It's definitely 2 against Everton, wasn't it, for Jota and Henderson's goal? And I'm sure he had 2 against Southampton, but we're starting to get assists, goals everywhere in that front 6. So for me, it's like if Conor Cody, they'll have a back 5 majority of the game if things go to plan. And it's going to be hard if Cody tries to go in for a battle with Jota, or for any of them for that matter. He could find himself in deep water.
I think you're right, and Courtney, I'm going to come to you as a fellow defender. I'm sure you'd if that was you, because I know you like a tackle. I know you love a tackle. Yeah, you're going to want to go body to body with a player, aren't you? Because you enjoy that tussle, that physical combat.
Yeah.
Like we were just saying, if Connor Cody does that, is he going to get sent off? Surely it's inevitable, isn't it?
You'd think so, but I feel like a case of that, he's probably going to get pissed off because Jota's going to make him look stupid. I feel like if he's going tight to him, he's just going to get ripped off. Because the way that Jota moves, he's a lot quicker than him. I feel like he's going to go in and commit, and he's just going to look dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like they're just going to end up committing, and he'll be off. So it won't be a case, he won't be able to touch him. And I feel like maybe then he might end up getting a bit more aggy about it, potentially end up getting sent off. But I feel like he'll be expecting that anyway. I feel like he'll be thinking like that anyway.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Let's jog it on slightly. The big debate that's been raging over social media over the last 6 weeks, and also in the papers as well. Certain publications have been pushing this story as well. I know, Roy, you did a great piece on this also. And guys, if you haven't already, head over to Top of the Cop and check this out, because this was a great analysis of the current situation we're seeing with our left backs at the moment. Robbo versus Costas. Now, I'll be open. I was one of the ones that was calling for Andy Robertson to be dropped. And it was solely because you could see that not necessarily he was physically fatigued, but he was mentally fatigued. Because playing under a manager with a system in the way that Klopp plays can be mentally draining. It's not only physically draining. And he just looked a shadow of himself. Every time Costas came in, he contributed. We think about from the first game he played to the last game he played. We're talking about assists. We're talking about clean sheets. We're talking about wins. Costas was absolutely phenomenal. And all you want from your backup players, so to speak, is that when they come into the squad, they contribute. And Costas has done that. So I think he would be, to a degree, he's been hard done by to be dropped or rotated, I believe is the right word, because I don't think any of them have been dropped. I think it's just rotation. But the last performance of Costas was a bit suspect. He got caught a couple of times in possession, and it coincided with the return to fitness because Robbo got the injury with Scotland of Andy Robertson. Steve, since he's come back in, is he now showing the quality that we know that Andy Robertson possesses?
100%. He has 3 assists in the last 2 games, which is Trent-esque, isn't it, to be fair? What's really telling is he was the second highest player in terms of touches of the ball in the derby, and the only person that touched the ball more times than him was Trent. So what we're seeing now is the old routine where the fullbacks are being expansive and creative and taking the risks. He also made 5 tackles and won them all. So he had 100% conversion for tackling, which is insane because that doesn't happen in today's football, because when you go to tackle somebody, invariably it's a free kick because they're all wrapped in cotton wool these days. So he was absolutely superb against Everton. For 4 of the 6 weeks that you mentioned at the start of this piece, I would have agreed with you and said he needed to come out and have a break because he was mentally tired. And mental fatigue is more difficult to deal with than physical fatigue, because mental fatigue leads to physical fatigue, whether you like it or not. So, yeah, I would say for 4 of those 6 weeks, absolutely the right decision. Nothing like a man trying to steal your shirt to make you respond and show everybody what you're made of. And Andy Robbo is wears his heart on his sleeve, gladiatorial type of defender anyway, that likes beating his chest and shouting at people. So he's very, very aware of what he can do, and his return to form has been sensational. And Roy makes the point before. Now Thiago's back in the side. We've got that triangle, and I've spoken about this with you many, many times, Jay, on both sides. Where last season Mane suffered because that triangle broke down because Gini was sitting deep because we were terrified of our back 4. Against Everton, Seamus Coleman misses a free header at the back post, and from that moment on, Andy Robertson turned into an orthodox left back that didn't venture forward. So Mane was trying to beat 2 or 3 people at once and couldn't do it. And everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, he's gassed, he's finished, get rid, move him on. Not at all. Now he's got bodies around him again. Now he's got bodies around him again. You start to see the best out of him. And it's no surprise you start to see the best out of Andy Robbo as well, because the balance has returned to that left-hand side of the front six, as Roy quite rightly calls them. So, yeah, Tsimikas did really, really well. He knows his position in the club. He knows he's an understudy. He knows that Andy Robbo, on top form, is not the best left-back in the club. He's the best left-back in the world. So you've got some strange expectations to be just expecting to take his shirt off him and keep it. Really good that we've got that competition. Really good, because it means you can't sit back and rest on your laurels. We just need one on the other side now to push Trent a little bit. But it's Robbo's shirt again now. And as Klopp said, Andy Robertson is Andy Robertson. And if we know anything about Klopp, he's loyal. So I wouldn't have expected anything else.
I agree with everything that you said. But the key caveat in there, the but is that had Costas continued that rich vein of form, assists, again, to potentially being a mini Andy Robertson, another player which is gutsy, wears his heart on his sleeve, not scared to put it about, good to make a tackle. I remember that game where about 3 men are on him. Who was it against again? And he's managed to come out. Yeah, he's managed to come out with a ball. They're hacking the hell out of him, and he's still come out with a ball and secured it with a pass as well. That's phenomenal guts from a player which was potentially being writ off by certain sections of the fan group. I mean, Roy, I'll come to you on this because I said you did a stellar piece on this. Give us your thoughts on this potential battle between Robbo and Costas, or is it just that as a club we need to get used to rotation because we haven't had these rotation options for so long?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly it. It's not Robbo versus Costas, and it's not the battle. I think we've just got to enjoy both of them. I think, a year ago, 2 years ago, when Milner played left back or whatever it was, we were crying out for cover. And now that we've got cover, people can't help but feel like they've got to compete, make them go head to head for the shirt. There's no reason why, for instance, you can look at their right wing, whoever are playing, look who they're playing on the right side of midfield and go, right, Robbo's more suited to this. Don't get me wrong. I think over the course of a season, if they were both fully fit, I still think Robbo would obviously make more appearances. But I can't see why, Robbo, for instance, will 100% start tomorrow. But then Costas will play against AC Milan. He'll play the full 90 minutes. And, we assess it every game. I don't think we've got to be in a position. It's like Kanate now. Kanate's coming in every other game. I think he may start tomorrow to cope with the pace. And it's not because Matip's played bad or he hasn't played well previously. That's why he wasn't in. I think we've got to get used to it. If we want to play 60-plus games every year, competing in every cup, getting to the latter stages in all those competitions, we've got to have 2 players for every position. That's what Man City have done. That's what they've done over the years. They've done it in a different way where they've just outspend everyone, covered themselves, 50 million reserve fullbacks and things like that. We're doing it in a different way with shrewd business decisions. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to, as I say, if there's 60 games in a season, if we get to 55, 60 games, because we're getting to the latter stages of all the cups, so we're doing well. We're talking 30 plus games for each of those left backs. That's a good season. There's a place for both of them in the team. And I hate seeing this debate of, oh no, I'm all Costas. No, I'm all Robertson. Everyone knows Robertson went off the boil. He hasn't played football. He hasn't stopped playing football for about 3 years, club and country. The man, as Steve rightly said, is mentally tired. He needed a good rest. He knows there's someone fighting for his shirt now. He's getting those rests, which he's never had, and he's going to be better for it. And Costas is going to be better for the game time. Just enjoy them both. As simple as that.
I totally agree with you, and we are reaping the rewards of this. We've seen, as I said, Costas come in and contribute. We've seen Robbo come in refreshed and absolutely destroy Southampton. They could not cope. Like you said, they didn't know if the run was coming inside with Mane. They didn't know if it was coming outside of Robbo, if Robbo was going to go inside, or if Thiago was going to start to break through the lines and getting towards the edge of the box. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what hit them. And like you said, we should enjoy both of them. And a key message that came out of them is that we need one for the other side, because Nico Williams, for all his exploits with Wales and a couple of the games he's played, he's not on the same caliber or the same level as Trent. Very few are, but I wouldn't even say he's on the same level and caliber as Kostas at the moment, and at a player which I think needs to move on in order to get sustained game time and build his career. Courtney, I'll come to you. How great is it to say that we now have options pretty much in every area of the park, apart from right back? Every other area of the park, we've got options.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like when you get hit with an injury crisis like we did, it's one of them where you need those options, and it creates competition within the squad. Because if you haven't got competition, they're just going to get lazy. Because if they think to themselves, oh, I've got to put shift in today, otherwise I'll get dropped next week and I will be playing. That's what you need. You need the competition in the squad. I think that's what Wolves manager like Bruno, he was saying that their squad depth is just not enough. They're quite a small squad and they have no options really to rotate. It's one of them, isn't it? You need those players there to create that competition, to get the most out of your players and to give players a break. Like you said, Robbo was knackered. You could see he was knackered. He wasn't on form. Because I was the same with Simicast. I was like, I think he should start. I think he should give Robbo the rest that he needs. And he's come back and he's better than what he was.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, there's players which are playing at right back which are doing exceptionally well and are actually putting in sustained performances. I mean, you've got Lamptey at Brighton, who arguably last season was out of this world, was unfortunate with his injury, but again has come back into the squad and is doing fantastic. You've got Aarons, who's doing exceptionally well as well in terms of his performances. Look, SS put another one in here as well. McNeil, who can play a multitude of positions, can play fullback, can play wing, can play midfield. But the player which I really, really like, and forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Lomachenko? That's at Southampton. Has come from
Livramento. He's got a buyback. He's got a buyback clause with Chelsea. If
Chelsea
he comes out of there, they'll take him before we get him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But we saw something very similar with Glenn Johnson all those years ago, where the player turned around and said, "I don't want to go back there. I want to go there because it's Liverpool Football Club." So, I think we do need to go out and invest in that right back position. A young player that can come in and give Trent that mental rest as well, because, like you said, Steve, mental fatigue is huge. It's a big part of the game. I mean, I hate to talk about Manchester City, but Pep Guardiola said this after their last title-winning season. How do I motivate this team again after they've won everything? They are mentally fatigued because I am demanding as a coach. Klopp is equally as demanding. So it can put that pressure on these players to somewhat break down and need a rest. We're not able to do that with Trent at the moment. So of those guys we've listed, just quickly, we'll go with Livramento. Sign or not sign if we're given the opportunity, Steve?
I'd go for Aarons personally, mate. Max Aarons at Norwich. They're never going to amount to anything in terms of a club. They're yo-yo, aren't they? So it'd be a great move for him and his expectations. Because if you sign Lamptey's going to want to play. Lamptey's looking good again, so he's not a guy who's going to sit on your bench week in, week out.
I agree. Roy, sign or not sign?
Well, like if I'm right, okay, I'll two scenarios because there's the football manager man in me and there's the actual realistic person in me. So if I was sitting there with unlimited money and I could sign a right back, any of those, depending on which Klopp preferred for to fit into his style of play, they're all showing that they're capable of playing right back. Our right backs are used to assisting though, so I don't think Lamptey can bring that part to his game yet. I don't really know too much about the Southampton guy. I've heard his name a few times. I don't know what he's like really as a player.
Decent. He's decent.
Yeah, Aarons. I like Aarons. I do really like Aarons. So yeah, they're all decent options. But see, we've got an issue where we can't sign the world best players in the world for 200, 300, 400 grand a week because we've got too many people picking up big wages on our bench, right? There's a lot of players. If you think about it, your Origis, even though Ox has come into a little bit rich vein of form, he's not been great over the last 2 or 3 years. Same with Keita.
You leave Ox alone.
No. Hey, no. I love Ox. I love Ox. But what I'm just getting to the point is with Nico as well. If we want the luxury of signing a right back in that capacity, we need to offload them players, or FSG need to change their wage structure because we're not going to be able to do that. So for me, I would keep Nico as an understudy. I think, he's shown for Wales that he's got confidence at Wales. He may now bring that confidence into a red shirt, and it might be worth in 12 months, 18 months' time, we might be having a completely different conversation about the young kid because he's definitely got the ability to whip a ball in. He's learned under Klopp's, philosophies for the last couple of years. He's growing as a player. He's only 20 years old. He's an international now. And I just think in the summer, there's more pressing issues than a right back, especially when we've still got Nico, Milner, who can play right back as well, and Trent. So for me, I wouldn't sign any of them.
Gomez.
Yeah, Gomez as well. Yeah, he needs game time. He can play right back.
Yeah, okay. Courtney, I'll come to you.
See, I completely agree with Roy there. I there's not a player that I really look at a right back and I think, oh, I'd like them at Liverpool. There's not really anyone I think, like they could cover in for Trent. Like I don't think anyone could give to the team like Trent does. And I feel like if you wanted that, the money that you're gonna have to pay for it will be ridiculous. And we can't afford that.
More wages.
I think we've got one of the biggest wage bills in the league. I think Neco Williams, I think he's so young, you can't write him off yet. And he's got quite a few assists for Wales. Like, fair enough, he's playing well for Wales. Like, it's like a Pogba, isn't it? He plays well for France. And then for United, is shy. But I would give him the chance.
Okay. I feel personally as a fan base that we're very sentimental in these topics and these little things. And I'll give him a chance. He'll come on. He'll do fine. He'll get there. So on and so forth. If we want to compete at the highest level of the game, and again, he's a young player. So he may grow into being a top player. Why can't we do something very similar to what Chelsea are doing? Let him go out, go and play football. If we believe in his talent, we'll insert a buyback clause. We'll tell him and say, do you know what? If he kicks on, you're a Liverpool lad, you've come through the system, we'll have you back if you kick on. If you don't kick on, go and enjoy your career and go and play football, lad. And we sign someone else in the meantime that's going to come in and contribute in the way that we need him to contribute. I agree with you, Roy. I don't think right back is the most pressing of scenarios because we've got Joe Gomez. Milner can play there, although I do think that it's Milner's last season at the club, personally. Maybe, and I think he'll move into a coaching capacity after that. But this comment from my lovely co-host, big shout out to USS. I saw Steve kind of squirm when he saw that, and it wasn't on the agenda, but only because Steve's look, I think we'll dissect it. So there's recent publications that are talking about a move for Joe Gomez to Villa because he needs to get some game time. He's going to be pushing for a World Cup place. The World Cup is this time next year. Just quickly, Steve, 'cause I'm only going to come to you on this. Does Joe Gomez need to go out on loan, potentially to Villa, and play football? Villa have got a lot of options at centre-back. They've got Mins, they've got Konza, they've got Transebi, they've got another lad there as well. So they've got 4 sustained options at centre-back. But does he need to move to get regular game time, or can he fulfil that at Liverpool?
As we speak right now, he's behind Van Dijk, obviously. He's behind Konate. He's behind Matip. And I think if you were putting a player in the squad tomorrow, you might put Nat Phillips in instead of Gomez, purely because Gomez hasn't played much in the last 12 months. So a move to Villa on loan might not be the worst thing that could happen for him. We've talked about him covering it right back. Doesn't do a great job at full back because he doesn't understand how to use the touchline as his friend, if that makes sense. Fullbacks need to use the touchline as their friends, and he struggles with that. So, he's not a right back. He came to the club and played left back when he's a right-sided centre-back, which really didn't make any sense at the time. But we did it, and it worked for a period. But he wouldn't be the worst thing. He's fit again now, but we've had that conversation 15 times in his Liverpool career, haven't we? So there's a pinch point coming with Gomez with Liverpool in the not too distant future as to, what and if can he become at Liverpool Football Club. So it wouldn't be the worst thing for second half of the season for him to go and get game time, but Aston Villa wouldn't be the type of club that would give Liverpool assurances on game time. That's a Premier League club fighting for its own place in the league table structure. They're not going to agree to him playing 70% of the games, which is typically what you do with loan signings when you send players of that calibre to another club. So I don't see Villa agreeing to that. So there's merit in it, and there's also a risk in it for me.
I agree with everything that you just said there. I think it's challenging for Joe Gomez because the injury that he sustained was a terrible one. That was a really, really bad injury. And to be fair, I think he's lucky to be even back playing football at the highest level because that was a nasty, nasty injury. And it's not the first time that he's had a nasty injury. I think with a player of his potential, though, we keep him because he's a phenomenal footballer. When he's up and running and he's fit, pace, aggression, power, he can ball play, he can win a header. He's got every single attribute that you need to be a top-class centre-back. I just think that injury is a massive setback. And I also think the form of Matip and the signing of Konate coincide as being a huge setback for him. We never anticipated that Matip would be playing the amount of games that he's playing and playing at the level that he's playing. And I think Konate didn't think that either. So Joe Gomez is fighting on two fronts. Do you know what I mean? I think Konate thought he'd come to the club and he'd be a straight shoo-in because Matip was going to be injured every week and we'd need Konate and then Gomez was going to pick up the slack. It's not worked out that way, but such is football. Right, we're moving into the twilight of the show. I just want to jump into a couple of comments really, really quick. SS expressing his views. Joe Gomez is not a right back. We totally agree with you, pal, but doesn't mean he can't play there. Nat Phillips is great, is the GOAT. Let's not forget it. Oh, good. Where are we? Gomez is a better centre-back than Mings. It's not even a debate. Mings is overrated. I don't understand. Do you know what? I tend to agree with you. Matip is silky. Matip is absolutely sensational football. I love when he brings the ball out and starts passing through the lines and getting forward. Like, unbelievable. If Joel Matip played for Manchester City, they'd all be singing his praises. But it's just that he's in a Liverpool shirt. Everyone goes, oh, it's only Joel Matip. But no, he's an absolute stellar player. Just a couple more comments in here as well. Why do we need to sign a 400k right back just to sit on the bench behind Trent? Keep Nico, except he won't do what Trent does, but he can do a job when needed. Okay. Very, very good point. I think that kind of sides with what Roy was saying as well. Barker Senior asking a very, very good question. Who is City's world-class backup?
They've got two.
Right back backup.
They've got Walker and Cancelo. Cancelo plays at left back because he's better than their left back options, but for all its extensive purposes, they're both of those two are right backs.
Yeah, he's a right back.
Yeah, he's a right back. Yeah, he's a right back. But you're right, you can't remove Walker because you need the pace. And their
left back's in, Nick.
Their left back is turning out for the five-a-side prison team.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Me Machine FC.
He'll be on the next episode with what's his name?
Vinny Jones.
With Vinny Jones on Me Machine.
Jaden Statham.
We digress.
The monk.
Yeah, the monk. Yeah.
So good, that film.
Oh God. Listen, shout out to Me Machine. There's two versions, weren't there? There was the UK one and there was the Ben Stiller one as well, which was the US version, which was actually not a bad watch as well.
Was that the rugby one though? Did the
American football?
Yeah, and they had all the wrestlers and the big it was that was good as well. I enjoyed that one.
That weren't a bad watch. Other films are available. Right, guys. We're heading to the twilight of the show. Courtney, I'll come to you on this as well. Really, really quick. Expected lineup. Rotation has been a figment of Liverpool's approach this season. Will we see more changes for this game, bearing in mind what fixtures we have ahead? Or are we going to stick with the strongest team and rotate for the AC Milan game because we're through. We're through in the Champions League. Group of death. What fucking group of death? We're through. Yeah. So are we going to rotate for the Wolves game? Really, really quick.
I think the only one that we might rotate is Matip, just for the pace side of it with Konate. Just because if Traore is playing, he's going to be looking to get in. Konate is big, he's physical, he can match him in that sense, and he can match him slightly in terms of pace, more than Matip anyway. But I think the rest will stay as it was. I don't think we'll rotate anymore. I think we'll rotate against AC Milan.
So you think the only change will come in the centre back position with Konate coming in?
Yeah.
I think SS agrees with you. Roy?
Yeah, exactly the same. Alisson, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Jota, Salah, and Mane. As you say, the only... If I'm Klopp, maybe he still plays Matip and plays Konate at the San Siro, but... Sorry. Yeah, San Siro. Yeah, take around San Siro. Yeah, or...
Not much longer, though.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
or he plays him tomorrow. So toss up. One of those will start. The rest exactly the same.
Yeah, Steve, talk to me, bro. What are you thinking?
This is it. That's it. That's the team for me. I play Konate tomorrow and at Milan. He needs game time. He needs because there's been some question marks over the positions, the starting positions. He's been taken up in our formation, which have caused us a few chances for our opposition. So. That guy can't get enough game time at the moment. And I know we want to win in Milan to do the 6 wins and the prize money and all of that stuff. But he would benefit from 2 full games for me, to be fair. The game will be won and lost in midfield against Wolves with Neves and Moutinho if he plays. They're both decent footballers, so we'll need to get a grip of the game and control the game from there. So I wouldn't change stats. That's by a distance our best midfield 3 at the moment.
Oh, totally, and I totally agree with you. And you're right. Neves is a serious baller, youngest ever Porto captain. Yeah, you don't become captain of Porto at the age he did if you ain't got the credentials. It's a player that we were linked with as well in the Rodgers era and tentatively in the Kenny era as well. Very tentatively, Liverpool have watched Neves for a long time. Who's our lad which we've taken from Porto? The Portuguese guy that's in the academy that's kind of heading up the player development now. Short guy with a
another guy you mean. Neves is too slow, mate. Neves and Moutinho is the slowest centre midfield outside of the Welling Garden City under 8s or something like that, mate. They've just got no pace at all. Pace at all between them.
They're progressive though. They're progressive in their passing.
Neves needs time on the ball. He won't get that with the Liverpool midfield. 100%. So yeah, for as good as he is, it's if he can get the ball, never mind, do something with it.
But I remember a couple of bangers where the balls come out and he's just gone, boom.
Oh, he's got that. He's got that in him, yeah. But
unbelievable. No, I don't disagree, but you know, they represent there's a fear there for me. Because if we give them space and time on the ball, then that's a big problem. Right, quickly to the comments as well. Rest VVD in Milan. Yeah, good shout. Although I'd like to go as strong as possible for Milan because I want to do the 6. I also don't want to give Diego Simeone a sniff of even getting Atletico through. That would be the ultimate part of the revenge tour if we help dump them out of the competition. Ox starts tomorrow, I reckon. I think. Do you know what? Since Ox has come back in, he's been fantastic. He's been a breath of fresh air, almost like a new signing, as they say. But I think the best team plays tomorrow because we want to keep that bounce going. We play after Chelsea. Chelsea are in the 12 o'clock or 12:30 kickoff. We're in the 3 o'clock. So we know what we've got to do. We'll know what we've got to do in that game. And then City play in the 5:30. And again, they're going to know what they're going to do. This is the tightest Premier League sort of title race we've seen for a long time, since our battles with Manchester City. So we all know what we've got to do heading into that fixture. For me, I'm going to go with the lineup that SS said as well. I think there'll be one change, which will be Konate. Because you're right, we want to dominate midfield and have as much of the ball as possible. Right. Will Liverpool respond? This title race is shaping up to be one of the best in recent times. Chelsea play before Liverpool, City after. Can we cut the gap? Chelsea go to West Ham. West Ham are a team in form. They are going to want to lay down a marker against Chelsea. They're going to want to get points. Declan Rice is obviously in a shop window, or he's putting himself in a shop window. He's going to want to have a worldie against Chelsea. Just quickly on this one with Courtney, do we cut that gap? Only a win will do. We know that. But are Chelsea going to slip up and allow us to get back in? Well, we're not out of it, but to close that gap.
I pray. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be like, yeah, and then they end up getting thrashed. I'm bad luck like that. I just hope and pray, and just hope they fuck up. Basically. Yeah, that's the only thing I can hope for. Fingers crossed. Yeah,
I agree. Roy, we'll come to you. Did Chelsea slip up?
I want them to, but no doubt they'll get through 1-0, 2-1 close game. I'd like to see West Ham do what they done to us, but I think with the being London rivals and stuff, I think they'd be more open. I just think they'll play the occasion, and it's going to be a close one. But I'll go on that. West Ham 2-1. I'll go for it. Soddy.
I'm here for that. And Steve.
Well, hey, Man City's game, by the way, away at Watford. That's not a shoe-in either. I'll have a close eye on that one.
Oh, it is. We bagged 5 there.
I don't know something about that. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Hey, I'd love it. I would love it. Hey, Ryan Mental. There you go. Man City, Watford, banana skin. Potentially. Steve.
I think Chelsea got too many variables in the final third for West Ham. West Ham got a draw in midweek. I think they were fortunate to get that draw. So whilst they're in fourth place and they're going well, recent form isn't the same form that they showed against us, for instance. They will need to play at the top of their game, and a couple of the Chelsea players will have to be a little bit off the pace for them to get a win in that game. So all we can do is keep winning our games, because they will have a sticky patch during the season, because everybody does. I'm not sure it starts tomorrow at West Ham, to be fair.
I'm a football man, yeah, and I love the game, I love it. So I study this. I study the game, same as you, Steve. Probably same for you. Chelsea can be got at. They can be got at. There is frailties in that Chelsea team, and I think personally, if West Ham play the football they know they can play. Because they're no pushover. Moisey has got them playing some decent ball. They've made the right acquisition. Zuma, I think, was a good acquisition. Dawson the season before, I think, was a good acquisition. Yeah, you've got Antonio, which is playing some decent stuff. He bagged an absolute worldie for Jamaica. He bagged an absolute worldie. So he's in decent form. You've got players contributing. Declan Rice is in a form of his life. That Souček partnership is absolutely fantastic. You think about the fullbacks as well. They're playing some good football. The goalkeeper just retired from obviously international duty, so he's just fully committed to West Ham now. He's playing some good football, so they've got a decent run all over the park. I think Chelsea need to be wary. This could be a potential banana skin, because in these kind of like derby matches, these London derbies, they get a bit wild. And I think if West Ham remain disciplined, they can get something out of this. I'm not going for a win. I think this could end in a draw.
You could see that. Evening. You could see that, yeah.
Yeah, Honours evening. Hold on.
Anything can happen in the Premier League, though, to be honest.
You're right. Anyone can get it. Anyone can get it. Right. Just as we close, we are in the part of the show which Courtney dreads, I hate, and SS loves. It's the score predictions. Watch the comments light up with SS now. He's going to throw his score prediction.
He's already put it in there.
Has he already put it in there?
Yeah.
Oh, look. Slow your horses, SS. I'm not even got to that part of the show yet.
With chest, lad, with chest.
I bet he had it written down with red permanent mark around it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Right. Look, here we go. We've just got to keep winning. You're right, SS. So, Roy, I'm going to come to you first as one of the guests on the show. Give us your score prediction for me, please, sir.
I can't argue too much with SS, to be honest. I think we'll get 3 at least. But
Okay.
maybe not quite a clean sheet. Maybe 3. I'll go 3-1. 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay. Steve, another returning guest to the show. What are you saying?
I said
3 as
3
well?
on Redmen, on the Wolves preview on Redmen, so I'm not going to
You
change
did
my
indeed.
mind now. I don't think they're going to score against us. I'm Team SS for this one, mate.
Okay. Courtney B, what are you saying?
See, I think Wolves are really going to go for it, just for the simple reason they'll want that momentum. Because if you've seen the games that they've got after us, they've got City away, they've got Brighton, they've got Chelsea, they've got quite a big run up of games. But having said that, their goals that they've averaging this season so far is shit. So I'm going to go 4-0. I'm going to go 4-0. Ballsy with it.
Well, it won't be the first time because, mate, we've had 5, we've had 4, we've had a number of 4s. We're hitting teams hard. So that leads on to my score prediction. I think that Wolves are building a good base in order to go forward for the rest of the season. They're becoming defensively secure, which allows them to build an attack. So I'm going to go for a modest 2-0. The reason why I say 2-0, because I think, as I said, it's going to be nip and tuck. We're going to know what we're going to need to do because Chelsea result would have already been there. So it's going to be nip and tuck for us. We're going to get in and get out. Nice, swift. We've scored enough goals. The goals are coming. There's other teams we can bust wide open. So especially after playing against City, playing after the Chelsea game and then playing up against West Ham. If West Ham gets something out of the game and it's a draw, we're going to go in there and say, right, just get the result and get out, boys. Don't leave any exposure for a counter attack. So 2-0 for me. And with that comes to the end of our Fab 4 show. Guys, thank you for all your contributions in the comments. Make sure you are liking and subscribing. If you haven't already, hit the link, like the channel, set the bell notification for us as well, please, so you don't miss a damn thing that the Red Sea podcast are offering at the moment. I'm going to give a bit of spotlight to Steve, and then after I'm going to give a bit of spotlight to Roy as well. Steve, what have you got going on, mate? Because I know you've got a few bits that you're working on. You're popping up on Redmen. You're doing a few bits for yourself. What's coming up from you in the next coming weeks?
I'm back on Redmen on Thursday after the European Games. I'm looking forward to that. Studio's pretty cool there, mate. And I did enjoy that sort of setup. So hopefully I can do a bit more of that, mate, because I just enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good craft. And obviously we've got copped pods as well. It's a bit quiet at the moment because my co-host Ian is 4 days on and 4 days off, and as you know, this YouTube thing isn't an easy ride, mate. It's you look at, you want to get your numbers up. I can see your banner along the bottom. So anyone who's watching this that hasn't subscribed, get it done. Should be a house rule. If you're on here, you should like and subscribe. End of. These guys work really, really hard. Probably the 2 hardest working people in the last 6 months I've seen trying to drive their brand forward. So get behind them and give them some support. And it's always a pleasure to come on. So thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, mate, it's always good to have you back, mate. And really, really thank you for the support as well. It's much appreciated. Roy, talk to us, dude. I know you, mate. You're busy. Like I saw that little notification drop in my DMs, and I was like, "What's he up to now?" You got merch. You got a new show. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to cover all angles, to be honest with you, because in all fairness, the type of videos I like to make on like my YouTube, they don't really take that long to edit. We've had this discussion before, haven't we? Obviously. So, but I find I personally don't like doing all the match build up and match reviews. I find there's a lot of them. Like, I like to do different types of content. So from that point of view, I wanted to make something just to cover the Premier League. So I've just started up EPL Digest, and I'm yet to finish the slogan, but it's going to be something along the lines of your daily Premier League news bites or something like gimmicky like that. But basically, I'm just going to take topics. I'm going to make a video over the weekend, potential signings for Newcastle in January, stuff like that. But yeah, forever, you'll always find me on Top of the Cop. Or my normal handle, so you can see all the EPL stuff, is just Roy Tomo. So I'm on there as well. But yeah, that's it. I'm on the Redmen myself as well, Steve, in a few weeks again. So they'll start getting on a few more of their shows. But yeah, everybody should be liking and subscribing, like Steve said, on this channel, because I've had many of opportunities through this, so it's only right that other people should support yourselves as well.
No, I appreciate that, mate. And look, it's always good to have you guys on because, as you know, being in and around the scene, being from out of the Liverpool area, it gives us a little bit of a different tact, and it's good to connect with you guys who are in and around the scene a bit closer to the club that we love. So it's a pleasure to have you boys on as well, and also keep doing your stuff with Red Men TV. You know, we've been fortunate to be given that platform by those guys as well, and they're good friends of the channel, and they'll always support where as and when they can. And we love jumping on when we get the opportunity too. So it's great to see a channel such as big as Red Men TV giving us guys, which you would say are small fish in their very big pond, giving us the opportunity to tag along and have a chance to jump on their show. So shout out to you guys as well. Courtney B, without further ado, because obviously we got a lot coming up this week. So we're going to have the Red Sea full time after the Wolves show. So we're lucky enough to bring Red Sea full time back home to the Red Sea podcast after a period of time on the LFC Day Trippers. So we're going to have our full match reaction show. Heading into the Milan game, we're going to have the Fab Four again for the Milan game, which you'll be joining us for. And then we'll do a Red Sea full time for that as well. So guys, we've got you covered for every single angle of Liverpool content right the way across the Red Sea podcast. So make sure that you are liking and subscribing. If you're in here and you haven't done that already, make sure you hit that button, hit the bell notification as well, just so you know everything that is going on with the Red Sea podcast. Anything you want to say, Courtney?
No. I think you've covered that. That's not someone Scouser's job, that.
That is normally SS's job. Yeah. But guys, thank you for joining the Red Sea podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys here as well. We are over and we are out.